I'll be the first to admit I don't know what the base feedstock for atomic scale manufacturing will ultimately look like. Nobody does. But if I had to imagine it, I see something like an inert biogel, a safe, stable medium holding the raw atoms needed for fabrication: carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, metals, trace elements, all purified and ready to be rearranged into whatever we need. It's not a product for sale. It's the foundation of an entirely new relationship between humanity and matter itself. And if we're serious about building that future, then we have to ask the question, where do we get the first great reserves of this feedstock? Where does the material for our first generation of biogel come from before the system is fully built out? The answer is so obvious, it's almost embarrassing that no one talks about it. Our landfills. The vast, buried mountains of waste we've been piling up for over a century. Those landfills are not garbage dumps in the post-scarcity sense. They're resource vaults, layer upon layer of discarded matter, plastic rich in hydrocarbons, electronics loaded with copper and rare metals, organic waste containing the base building blocks of life. All of it useless in its current form, but all of it perfect feedstock once broken down to the atomic level. The very same molecular disassembly that will one day sit in a household recycler can be scaled to industrial size. Imagine massive reclamation facilities digging through these buried heaps, vaporizing pathogens, stripping out toxins, breaking compounds apart until nothing remains but clean, elemental matter. That matter would be recombined into the biogel, dense, compact and stable, ready to be drawn on for food production, housing materials, medicine, infrastructure, and anything else we can design. If we mined every landfill on Earth, the sheer volume of reclaimable matter would be staggering. It would buy us decades, maybe centuries of fabrication capacity before we'd even have to think about supplementing it. And once we pair that with the other great resource well waiting for us, the asteroid belt, the picture changes completely. Asteroids are floating treasure troves of nickel, cobalt, iron, platinum, and carbon compounds. A single metallic asteroid can contain more metal than humanity has mined in all of history. By combining landfill reclamation with asteroid mining, we could sever our dependency on terrestrial extraction almost immediately. No more strip mining, no more mountaintop removal, no more tearing up ecosystems for ore. We could, within a single generation, end the exploitation of the Earth's crust entirely. And this isn't just an environmental win. It's a philosophical turning point. For thousands of years, civilization has justified hierarchy, coercion, and war on the grounds that resources are scarce and must be controlled. Land, labor, and materials have always been the levers of control. Whoever could withhold them could demand obedience. That is the logic of kings, landlords, and oligarchs. And it has been the baseline assumption of every economic system we've ever known. Atomic scale manufacturing, fueled by reclaimed waste and off-world resources, destroys that assumption. If material abundance is no longer something that could be fenced off and rationed, then coercion loses its teeth. If no one has to pay rent to the earth itself just to live, then the entire architecture of exploitation collapses. This is the Enlightenment socialist position in its purest form. Liberty is not granted by decree or defended by words alone. It is secured by material reality. A free society cannot exist if the means of life are scarce and controlled by a few. That's why this technology matters. That's why the source of its feedstock matters. If we allow it to be throttled, monopolized, or tied to the same extractive chains that bind today's economy, then it will become just another tool of domination. But if we start by rooting it in reclaimed waste and common heritage resources like asteroids, we begin with a foundation that is by design, beyond private control. The first act of a civilization serious about liberty should be to mine its own past mistakes. We dug the holes, we filled them with waste. Now we can empty them, not to make space for more garbage, but to close the loop entirely, to take what was once buried in shame and use it to build the first generation of a post-scarcity infrastructure. From there, asteroid mining scales the model indefinitely. Our material future is no longer bound to the finite surface of one planet. The Earth can finally be treated as what it always should have been: a home, not a mine. Every forest left standing, every river left unpoisoned, every mountain left whole. Not because we choose austerity or restraint, but because we no longer need to touch them at all. That is the threshold atomic scale manufacturing offers us, if we choose to cross it. The choice is between an old world that justifies control through scarcity and a new one where the means of life are as common as air. Between a civilization that treats the earth as a carcass to strip and one that leaves it intact, thriving and free. The moment we can turn garbage into gold, and I mean that literally atom by atom, the old excuses die. And when those excuses die, so does the legitimacy of the hierarchies built on them. What remains is the real work of freedom, not the struggle to survive, but the freedom to become.